Hello, everyone, and welcome to Synchronous Online Teaching Strategies for Orange County Schools, Part 1. My name is Teresa Wills. I'm an assistant professor at George Mason University, and this is an example of my normal style of teaching. I know many of you all are adapting to this idea of what is a new normal, and this is my everyday. So I'd like to share with you all some of the great strategies that I have for teaching online and some of the amazing affordances that the technology has to offer. This is a 5-part series, and each day we will unpack some more strategies for teaching online. I have a lot of experience in age of people that I teach. At George Mason, I teach pre-service and in-service teachers, but I've also taught synchronously for a 3rd grade class an entire year as they move to a paperless classroom. And I also have experience with kindergarten, 1st graders, middle and high school kiddos in synchronous online. So hopefully I'll be able to answer your specific age level questions as well. We're going to be working between 2 platforms. Collaborate, which if you can hear me and see this text that just came through, you're in Collaborate, and the other is through Google Docs. So Google Docs are our slides, and everybody has rights to edit the slides and add to the slides. And I'll kind of talk a little bit about the affordances of that. So you should have 2 windows or 2 tabs open. And I'm going to go ahead and keep pasting this Google Doc link in there. You obviously only need to click on it once, but in case we have any folks coming late, that way they can enter right away. So let's get started right away. You will quickly learn that I am not going to lecture. You all are going to interact the whole time. And I hope that you get some really amazing ideas. Let's start off on successes and celebrations. Since we're expecting a larger group, I've made 3 duplicates of this. Go on any slide you like, 2, 3, or 4. And you're going to grab a text box and tell us, what are you celebrating today? The text box looks like that little T in a box, but you're not going to click on that T. You're going to come all the way up to your toolbar, all the way over, and you'll see it somewhere above the word successes. Go ahead and insert a text box and tell us, what are you celebrating today? What successes are going on in your personal lives or your teaching lives? If you're just joining us, here's the link. We're on slide 2. Who's teaching AP Stats? Would you mind turning on your microphone? How does it feel knowing that they've gone through material?
It's a little exciting that we got through all the chapters. I wasn't sure we were going to do it, and we just got a couple of weeks we can review, which is actually something I never get in a regular classroom. So a little happy about that.
Kudos to you. Tina, hi there. How's it going? Tell us, how far are you through now? You done with another semester?
Yeah, I start back. I do geometry this summer, and then I have 2 classes in the fall, and then the internship. So then I'll be done.
Woo woo, coming up to the end. Nice. Somebody said their husband finished coursework through Liberty. How's that? Are you getting more shared time of responsibility now that your husband's done, or how's that working out?
Kind of. He's kind of on to the next project already. So he's looking to get endorsed in mathematics, actually. So a new project.
Oh, very cool. It's a subject of my own heart. And somebody wrote on slide 4, finally heard from a student after 2 weeks. How did that feel? What was it that your student chatted about?
Apparently their computer like exploded. So I guess I had to go buy a new one, but for like 2 weeks, because I met with this kid regularly, I was like, man, what's going on? So the fact that he knew to just come check in with me was great.
That's wonderful. All right, folks, you're going to get 12 strategies today in our very first session. It is going to be a little bit like drinking water from a fire hose, but I promise you over the next 4 sessions, I will continue to unpack these with you. But today is all about being inspired and ready to give students voice in your class. So on slides 2, 3, and 4, that's an example of successes and celebrations. I do it every single session I do, whether it's with our littlest kids or oldest adults. It's always open. It is always available for pictures or text or whatever the students want to put on there. Alrighty, come on down to slide 5. Again, if you're just joining us, here is the link, and we're on slide 5. In math, I will typically put up the NCTM Principles to Action objectives for why on earth I do a rich task in my class. And so these are my objectives, and I know you all have objectives for your units or lessons. Let me just do a check-in with you all. Would you grab one of those emojis there and move it down to any of the 8? Pick one. Are you really good at teaching for productive struggle? Kind of okay or not so much. How about connecting mathematical representations? So what I'm asking you to do is grab an emoji and bring it down to one of those objectives on how you feel you are at implementing it. So you'll literally go up in the top corner of slide 5, grab one of those emojis and bring it down to the objective. And now I'll put it out to you all. I'll ask this question several times. This activity is called visible polling. You can poll for a variety of things. I like to think about objectives at the beginning of a class. How might you use visible polling in your content area? Turn on your mic and tell us.
Well, I know I teach statistics, which often involves polling, so this would be a much faster way to do that instead of going around and asking everybody.
Excellent. So actually for your content, right? And I know even our middle school teachers here are teaching data representations and statistics. So yeah, we can poll each other. Would anyone use it for your unit or daily objectives, and how?
You could use this before moving on to another topic. You could put on there, how much do you understand the topic? Do you feel like we're ready to move on? Do you have a lot more questions?
Absolutely. And there's a little bit of a feeling of being anonymous and putting these emojis on. Did that help you all to put a more honest reaction up there?
Yes, I would say so.
Yeah, it's a little less, it's a little more non-threatening than putting your name up. Alrighty, let's move on down to slide 7. And I'm going to make a duplicate because of our size. So 7 or 8, grab an empty text box. Tell us your name and what you teach. All right, and now I'm going to bring in another tech tool for us. All the way at the very top of your toolbar up there, you will probably see a fill bucket. Click on your cell and you're going to change the color of the fill bucket. If you primarily teach middle school, change your text box to red. So red is primarily middle school. If you're in the group that teaches primarily that Algebra 1 and Geometry group, you're going to change it to blue. Primarily Algebra 1 Geometry is blue. If you're primarily AP, change it to purple. And we're going to keep the ones that did not belong in those categories in the green so we can see it. Again, if you're primarily middle school, change it to red. Primarily Algebra 1 Geometry, blue. Primarily AP is purple. Alrighty, so what this is a strategy called Respondent Code, where every single student gets a chance to write on the slide. They all have a place, and then after they're done writing it, we code with some kind of code in mind. I'm going to throw it out to the pedagogy experts here. I see that there's 31 pedagogy experts. How might you use Respondent Code in your class? Go ahead and turn on your mic and tell us. Is there ever a time in math that we want students to categorize things? Go ahead, Matt.
I was just gonna say, just something I was thinking about today was we were doing a couple of problems where there were 3 or 4 different ways to attack the problem, and I would have liked to do something like that and had the students kind of code, which method did you use to show significant results, and then they could color code like that. If it was a hypothesis test, or if it was a confidence interval, or if it was using a graph or something like that, because there's so many different ways to go about getting an answer.
Absolutely. So we could ask students to write their way of doing it down, their strategy, and then to categorize it. I know those of you who are teaching middle school Algebra 1, sometimes there's a chance that you might be able to distribute first. Other times you want to add your like terms first. So after students do exactly what Matt said, they could color code to their strategy. What else would we categorize in math?
Also, I was thinking about, I don't know, like geometry figures and things. They get categorized pretty easily.
Yes, absolutely. Andy?
I could see us categorizing just based on comfort level, asking them, are they comfortable with the material, or less so, more so, something like that.
Yes, absolutely. That will save you time going over some things if everyone says they got the hang of it, but number 29, they do not. That can really inform you as a teacher. All right, the nice thing about this is that every student has a space to type. We're valuing every student's answer, and more importantly, it's making it so that when they have a place, they're less likely to hide, and we want to see their thinking on the page. All right, come on down to slide 10. Let's look at another strategy here. Would you please grab that star and move it to the picture that best describes you? How do you feel towards distance learning right now? Go ahead and move that star to what best describes you. Feel free to color code that star, make it bigger, smaller. All right, I see we have about 1/3 of our participants, so I'll wait just another minute. Grab that star and move it to the image that best describes how you feel towards distance learning. All right, on slide 11, would you put your cursor in a text box on top of the image that you selected and tell us why? Give your rationale. You don't need to type your name on this one, just your rationale. If you happen to have written a lot in your assigned space, you can highlight it and change the font size. And then I'll have you move to slide 12. And I'm going to ask a slightly different question. On slide 12, please respond, how do you feel about distance learning on a Sunday evening? It may change your answer, it may not. Add the letter, your name, and your rationale into this box. How do you feel about distance learning on Sunday evenings? And my question for you all is on slide 13. You saw 3 different templates for this idea of there's 4 choices and I'm asking you to pick one. What's similar and different about those 3 templates, and why might you choose one over the other? Go ahead and turn on your microphone and respond to that question.
I would say the ones where the students do not have to put their names, we are more likely to get honest answers. And the ones where you had to put your name, I don't know if the students would wait for others to respond and then just have answers like their friends do.
Good
I
thinking.
was going to say the same thing. Just because it's anonymous, they might be more honest with what they have to say to us.
I also think that with being anonymous, it's great, but sometimes when everybody's typing on the same screen, it's visually overwhelming, and some of our kids will get overwhelmed and not type anything.
Right, and so we might choose to just put the star over.
I also think the ones where you actually had to write a rationale and kind of explain why you answered what you answered are a little bit more productive than the ones where you did just have to drag and drop.
Wonderful feedback there. They are different. The star, you can quickly see where everyone has an opinion. Slide 11, the one nice thing about that is they cluster similar opinions together. So people who are all similarly frustrated are together. People who are all similarly zen are together. And on slide 12, they're not really together, but they are nicely started out with the name first. So if you're doing a roster and you need to check off names, you've got that also. One important thing with this activity is that you're purposeful about which slide that you choose. This activity can quickly be altered to which one doesn't belong, or you're trying to figure out which is the image that doesn't fit the rule for the rest of them. And very easily you can put different coordinate graphs on those images and ask a very similar question. So again, it gets our kids to kind of compare and contrast different graphs, different equations, and so on. Any other ideas about math content with these slides? Feel free to turn on your mic and share or write them in the text box. And if you're ready to move on, you can show me by moving to slide 14. Slide 14 is much like the successes and celebrations slide. You're going to grab your own text box. The one rule with this is please only add one new idea per text box. So if you have 3 ideas, fabulous, but just add 3 text boxes for this. My question to you all is, what has been successful so far with distance learning? One idea per text box. Use as many text boxes as you like. Resize your font however you like. And the next thing I'm going to do is ask you all to play a little tug of word. I've gone ahead and added a little rope here. Some things are easy for you and some things are hard for you. And what I'm going to ask is that you take these text boxes and you move them to different areas of this continuum. They don't need to be literally on top of the rope. They can be a little above or below. Let's start reading other people's responses. You don't have to move just your own. And move them. Is it easier for you or hard for you? And if you don't agree with somebody's, feel free to move it. And I always have a couple of students who are very visually inclined and they like to kind of clean up the slides, make the text boxes, move them around, have the right size. I leave that up to my students. But here's the magic in this activity. It's called tug of word because I'm watching to see which of these are tugged the most. And I've seen one in particular get tugged. And I'd like to bring our attention to that. The one that I saw tugged the most is now up in the middle and in bold. My students on pace to finish everything. Now we could have conversations about all of these things, but if I really want to focus my conversation in the class to something that is going to lead to more discussion, I want to pick the one that is being pulled the most from one continuum to the other, back and forth by students. So in this case, I'm going to ask you all to write in the chat box. So in Collaborate, you've got a little chat box there. Tell us, how do you feel about students on pace to finish everything? Is that something that's easier for you or harder for you, and how come? Give a rationale in the chat box. We already have 3 ideas here, and I can relate to those completely. And at this point, I can even read these conversations that are coming in the chat box and ask certain people, would you turn on your mic and tell us a little bit more about it? So if we're trying to kind of spur up some more conversation, we've got a preview window here. All right, I'm going to throw the pedagogy out to the 32 pedagogy experts out there. How could you use tug of word in math, or if you happen to be one of the few folks in here who are not math in your content area? Turn on your mics and tell us how you might use it.
I think in computer math, when we have some programs and things we're writing, there's a lot of different places where kids can run into problems. I think that would be a good one to put up, like I'm really good at knowing where to find the syntax I need, or I feel good about using a loop, and then other kids could definitely drag those around and get a feel for where different kids are having trouble and where different kids have strengths.
Absolutely. I think of computer science all the time in this because that's how my math brain works, is like a program. And so in this case, yeah, you could have any topic there, and the 2 sides to it. One that always sticks with me is long but easy to understand, or really efficient. And I think whether you're in the math teaching frame of mind or computer science teaching frame of mind, there are certain formulas or functions that are very efficient, and that's one end of the continuum. Awesome. All right, I'm going to have you all in some breakout rooms so you can experience what that is like. Check out slide 17. The question that what you're going to do when you're in your breakout rooms is, first of all, turn on your mic, say hello to everyone, and then discuss the prompts. What does it mean to be a learner of technology? And why might it be important to show or model this to your students? Every single person in this class will be typing on slide 18. But depending on what group you're in, you're going to have a different box to type in. And as you start to develop your ideas, it's going to be a little bit of a messy brain dump. But after you see some ideas on there, your conversation will start to develop into something a little bit more sophisticated. And feel free to erase part of that brain dump and turn it into a more sophisticated sentence. I'm going to be in charge of the breakout rooms, and I'm going to go ahead and start them. Make sure you turn on your mics and just begin with this question and share with other people in the groups how you feel about it. Your breakout rooms will start in 3, 2, 1, now. Hi folks, go ahead and turn on your mics. You are in group 1, so you'll be writing in the red block.
So
Great.
are we supposed to be doing something on the slide?
Yep, go to slide 18. We're in the purple box.
We're in group
Okay.
2, yeah.
We're purple.
Hi there, group 3. You are in that orangish yellow colored box. Go ahead and turn on your microphones and talk about what does it mean to be a learner of technology. Hi there, group 4. You're going to be typing in that blue box there. Go ahead and turn on your microphones and talk about what does it mean to be a learner of technology. So what does that mean to you to be a learner of technology? Feel free to turn on your mic and chat with the group. What does that mean?
Well, technology is always changing, and as such, we have to be constantly adapting to it and learning new things as things are updated and whatnot. So that's one example.
Neat. What are some others?
I think getting out of your comfort zone is a big thing, trying to learn new ones, and even what you do know, more about that, because there's always new things. Like even right now on these Google slides, you're showing me things I didn't know I could do.
Excellent. All right, keep on adding. You guys are doing good. Hi there, group 3. What have you all been talking about? What does it mean to be a learner of technology? Hey, Group 3. How's it going? What's it mean to be a learner of technology?
I don't know what to say.
So what are some things that you want your students to know in terms of what does it mean to be a learner of math? What might you say to that?
So are you talking about the idea that we are still kind of all in the same boat of like how we're learning to use this technology? Is that what you mean?
Sure. So we all are in the same boat. We might have different skill sets, but why might that be important to show or model to our students that, you know what, we're in the same boat, we're also learning this?
Well, I mean, you can give them the idea that they are contributing more to the class than just the math behind it, but kind of helping the teacher kind of having some value behind the class itself.
Wonderful. Yeah, start writing that down in that orangish colored box and keep adding to your ideas. Welcome back, everyone, to the main room. Hello, hello. Welcome back, everyone. I have gone ahead and muted your microphones, so if you are going to speak for the next all share, make sure you turn it back on. So in this case, we looked at this idea of 4 different groups typing on the same slide at the same time. And my question to you all is, what are some advantages to viewing what other groups wrote as you're developing your own ideas? Go ahead and turn on your mics. Tell us your thinking to slide 19.
I liked this approach a little bit better than the one where everyone was jumping in on the same slide kind of at the same time. I think it was Alicia who said earlier it was a little visually overwhelming for me when everybody seemed to be trying to put their text boxes up at once. So at least having the space broken into quadrants was helpful for me visually.
Excellent. Thanks for sharing, Laura.
I think too, for students who are struggling to come up with ideas or an answer as to what to say, can kind of take a look around at what other students have said, and maybe that will help trigger something in their mind so that they don't feel so lost or left out.
Or in the same vein, if you're having trouble kind of articulating a thought, somebody else might have something similar to say that'll kind of spark what you were trying to say to begin with, and that will continue that track of thinking.
Indeed. Tracy and John, the way you all are describing that is very much how I sometimes feel when someone's asking me a very reflective question. I don't always have the words yet, but I have lots of ideas, and I want to kind of survey what others wrote and then develop my own and resurvey and then redevelop it and continue to update it. Cool. Well, there's another strategy for you. And come on down to slide 20. Like I said, today you're going to learn a lot of different strategies, and then in the future sessions, we're going to get more into math content using these different strategies. So hopefully this will get you kind of excited about the different ways we can use interactive slides. Alrighty, slide 20. This is our next set of directions. We're going to be in small breakout rooms again. You are going to begin by turning on your microphone, moving to your assigned slide, and typing one short response on each of the compass points. So on slide 21, Our topic is down in the bottom in the presenter's notes. You'll see me highlighting it. I'll put a little arrow in so you know where to look. It's right down there in the presenter's notes. Group 1 will be starting there. So don't write yet. You're not in your groups yet. You're going to discuss this. But you're going to talk about the topic of giving students editing rights to Google Slides. Group 2 will be down on slide 22. And they're going to be talking about giving students access to breakout rooms without a teacher monitoring them. And group 3 will be on slide 23, talking about teaching content, technology, and social emotional topics all at the same time. So these are the different groups we're going to do. I'm going to have larger groups this time because I want you guys to kind of have more conversation. When you're in those breakout rooms, don't be afraid to use multiple modalities. You can use your microphone. You can chat in the chat box. You can also write directly on the slides. So whatever's most comfortable for you, go ahead and do that. Once you've typed something in all 4 boxes, you're going to check out the other slides that you haven't completed. Look at what they wrote and add to it. Go to that next slide. Look at what they wrote and add to it. So you're starting on your own, you're going to check out the other 2, and you're going to add to it. Again, I will be in charge of making the breakout rooms. You guys will move automatically into them. Feel free to either use your microphone, chat box, or write on the slide. Your breakout rooms start in 3, 2, 1, now.
To Google Slide.
Hi,
So
they're going to ruin my slides.
Right.
okay, so that would go under a reason it might be worrisome. Do you guys want me to type?
Eight kids that like me every day in AP stats. If I told them to go to a room and work on some problems together, they would do it, and I don't think they would veer off course at all. But then if it was first semester classes, my computer math, I don't know what kind of things might be happening. I think you kind of got to know your kids. But
They're in energetic class would be completely happy to just be invisible, but now they're emailing me often and we're having a lot of communication, which is kind of settling some of their fears about the content.
Yeah, I find it's been easier to meet with, some kids have come to me also, and like we'll set up like a separate meeting and we can have some one-on-one conversation about whatever their concern is about the content. And if it was a school day, it would have been hard for them to find time to come to me. If that makes sense. You know, outside of the classroom, they don't always have the time to be able to like have a discussion with you.
I mean, the content has not been easy. Well, I did the videos and I like videoed myself teaching the lessons, but you know, I got the kids that have a million questions and, you know, one video has not, you know, it's not exactly perfect, but I have a lot of kids saying they don't understand even after a while.
Where what would we be using it for, and knowing our students and knowing, you know, how we have prepped for doing this.
I would agree with that. Going blind on that is probably a bad idea.
That's what they, you know, 4 or 5 of them get together and they work on math. And you know, the kids are like us. We'll have something to discuss, but every now and then somebody will mention something else that's going on in your life, and it's not necessarily a horrible thing, but you just don't want them to waste their time. You want to make sure they're getting something productive done.
Hi, folks. It sounds like you're having a great conversation, and I see all 4 cells are filled in. And whenever you're ready, you all can slide down to slide 23 and start reading what they have, adding more to it, and then back up to slide 21.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hi there, group. It looks like you have at least one thing in each cell. Excellent job. As a group, when you're ready, you can all move down to slide 22, read what they have and add to it, and then slide 23, read what they have and add to it.
Thank you.
Hi there, group 3. At this point, feel free to head to the other 2 slides, read what they wrote down, and add to them. You can do that independently if you need some quiet time to read, or you can do it as a whole group if you enjoy chatting.
Using your tongue motion is a whole other aspect to being in the classroom with kids face to face.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, that's one thing, Kevin, I would encourage you with all the statistics around the coronavirus. There's a lot that can be brought in with statistics and social, emotional, just in having them respond to their how it's impacting them.
I would think so.
Welcome back, everyone. We're back in the main room. Hello there and welcome back. I've gone ahead and muted your microphones, so if you would like to speak, make sure you turn it back on. So in this activity, you started with a blank slide, and then you were able to view responses of 2 others before having to add to it. My question to you is, how is student voice different from that initial slide to the other 2 slides? Turn on your mic and share with us. How is that activity a little different?
I felt like I had a stronger stance on the other 2 than I did the first one that I was originally given. Gave me more to think about and talk about, I guess.
Yeah, that initial one may have been more rigorous or challenging. What else?
Sometimes seeing what somebody else wrote helps us think about how we feel about that particular topic, I guess.
Yeah. James?
I think this really adds to the openness of discussion, though. You get far more ideas here. I know there's worry here on what kids would say, but if you're keeping this focused, they definitely feel more open for conversation, I think.
Absolutely. Matt?
Yes.
I saw your mic on.
No, all I was thinking was that they were is that when you just are presented with that blank page, that's like getting up to make a valedictory speech or something. But when somebody else has already put an idea up there, it's real easy to see an idea and say, oh, but, or, oh, and. So when there's already a little bit up there, not just a blank page, I feel like it's a lot easier to get into it than to like be trying to compose an essay as the first thought or whatever. That blank page is scary sometimes.
Yeah, it can be a little intimidating there. And it might also be a nice one to end class on. All right, we're going to end today. This is your blank page. Think about it for next class. You're starting here. And then your class can evolve into the other ones. So again, you all are the pedagogy experts. I'm just teaching you how to tweak what you're doing already online. All right, speaking of blank pages, Matt, I'm going to double down on that. Come on down to slide 25. In our last breakout room activity today, I am literally giving you a blank slide. And your job on that slide, everyone contributes. You can use text, you can use images that you find online, you can use GIFs, you can use whatever you like to fill up that slide. Your prompt is, in a perfect world, my online classes would be. And that's all I'm giving you for 5 minutes in new breakout rooms. And your breakout rooms start in 3, 2, 1, now. Hi folks, you're group 1, so you'll be on slide 26. Go ahead and fill it up. In a perfect world, my online classes would be. Hey there, group 2. You're on slide 27. Go ahead and fill it up.
Thanks.
This would be more talkative. And actually, this has helped me come up with some ideas.
Hey, group 4, you're down on slide 29. And what would you like in your perfect virtual learning classroom? Feel free to use text boxes, images you find online.
much as being able to have them on one screen and then work through the Google Slides this way. I think it would be easier to, if I have to do some serious instruction, it might be easier this way, possibly. I don't know.
Yeah, I like this because it does get me feedback. Like while I'm doing it, I get feedback. Like I said, it's not equal to being in a classroom with them, but the feedback is good. And you know, this probably isn't that horrible thing in the long run for the students.
No.
Eventually, we all have to learn to learn this way. That's when I need to learn something these days. That's what I do. I get online and figure out how to learn it. But it's just still unusual.
Welcome back, everyone, to the main room. Hello, hello, and welcome back. So that was what it was like to have a totally blank slide. It really does open it up for everyone to kind of get their voice out however they want to give their voice. All right, folks, I told you today that we were going to go through a ton of different activities. I'm going to ask on slide 31 that you identify one of them that you're going to try to give your students more voice in your class. We started at the beginning with successes and celebrations. We talked about goals and objectives and personal feelings towards those. We did respond and color code. We had the 4 boxes with the stars and the rationale. We had the tweet board and the tug a word. We had all 4 groups responding on the same slide for the same question, and a little bit more of a jigsaw with the other questions with the compass points. We even had a blank slide. And what you're doing right now is a whole group response. You can click on any of those bullet points and respond right on the notebook paper. All right, folks, I want to recognize that this is probably like drinking water from a fire hose. I wanted to start off our 5-day series with letting you know that there are lots of examples of ways to do things online. The next 4 days, we're going to get into some awesome math. That's where my heart lies, but I wanted to start off with just student voice so that we can apply all these strategies in the future sessions. On slide 32 is a reminder, if you want any of the templates for this stuff, they're all available on my website. And I'm going to spend the rest of the time here and let you all open it up to Q&A in our virtual parking lot, slide 33. If you would go ahead and put any questions you have, I will stay tuned with anyone who wants to stay later. But if you are someone who wants to leave, I always end on time, and it is now 3 o'clock. So I will see many of you all tomorrow. Get ready, get your math brains ready, and keep thinking about these strategies. Sure thing. Alrighty, let's see. I've got several questions here. Someone wanted to know about breakout rooms, and some of the things I have answered more eloquently in a video. So if that's the case, I don't mean to blow off your question here. I just think that I've done a better job of it in a previous video. So if that's the case, like the breakout rooms, I'm going to link you to the video that I created. So let's see. Someone wanted to know about breakout rooms. So here's the video that I created for breakout rooms. And how do you monitor them? This is super fun because I often don't know really what my students are doing in the small groups in my main classroom. Like they might look engaged, but really they're talking about who knows what, or they're on their cell phones, or they're over here. So with breakout rooms, you saw that I just inconspicuously drop in and start listening. And I might give you guiding questions. I might kind of push back on an idea. So one of the best ways of monitoring is by that inconspicuous kind of drop in. And then when students realize that, like, boy, they're really going to know when their teacher pops in, they start to kind of change their behaviors. We are going to talk more about classroom management in a future session, but I use a lot of the same classroom management techniques from face-to-face class as with online. If I feel like the class is all off task, I'll pull them all back together, mute their microphones, and we'll start all over. I might do a pair share where they can only talk to one other person. I might bring them into large groups like you all experienced today. So you'll see some more of that in the next coming week too. What do you do if the student refuses to answer? So usually I try and give multiple modalities, because if there's one thing I've learned from my experience in the video game world, it's that people want to respond. They just might not want to respond the way you want them to respond. So I'm a big chat box person. If there's a session going on, I don't like to use audio. I constantly feel like I'm going to interrupt, so I am heavy in the chat box. And if the teacher's not really evaluating my responses by the chat box, they might think that I'm not participating. But actually, I lead a lot of chat boxes. Sometimes it's writing on the slide. Sometimes it's comments. Sometimes I need to put students in pairs so that they can get an idea out together before they come to the whole group. So there's different ways you can kind of motivate them to not hide, much like in a face-to-face classroom. What other questions do you have? Sure thing.
My internet was out for a minute, so you may have already answered this. I had typed in the chat. Will you be showing us how you did the sort of forced breakout groups?
I can show you. I posted a link to the video on slide 33. I tried to frame it a little bit better. If for some reason that doesn't answer one of your questions, just let me know and I'll happily walk through it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. You're welcome. All right, folks, see you tomorrow.